This week we are going to talk about the hospitality AR. The AR means accounts receivable. So we will be discussing how we classify the accounts receivable, how they are generated, how we manage them, and what are the control aspects of hospitality accounts receivable. Now this is a pretty much a very important area for any accountant to understand, especially in hospitality, because apart from the cash, this is the another method by which most of the revenues are collected. So if we are not strong in accounts receivable, then we may earn 100% occupancy, but the money may not be in your bank because the maximum of the transactions are happening by cash, by credit cards, by the credit. Even the credit cards, you need to receive the money from the credit card companies, as is not immediate, you're gonna receive it later. So that's also a part of your accounts receivable. So if we are not able to manage this, then it can damage the profitability of the hotel very fast, and there are a lot of frauds that happen in accounts receivable. So what are the control aspects in accounts receivable? Right. So first thing is the classification. So how does the AR accounts are classified? So you might be very well aware that there are agents, travel agents, which are working in international. So they may be a travel agent who is situated outside the country. So maybe not in the hotel, not in the country where the hotel is situated. So they may not have an office in that country, and the payment is generally coming from overseas. They are classified as agents which are international agents, right? Travel agents. So if we go back one step, and try to understand how the hospitality business is generated. So usually when the guest is making a booking, what are the options? So the hospitality business is coming from travel agents, is coming from corporate bookings. When we saw our room segmentation, we saw that they can be groups, they can be government, they can be embassies, they can be individuals as well. So not all the guests are going to pay in advance or at the time of checkout in the hotel. So they may be, if they are booked through the most of the time, if they are booked through travel agents, if they are booked through their corporate companies, if they are booked through government, if they are booked through embassies, NGOs, they don't normally pay immediately. What they would do is they would say, okay, you accept our booking and you send us the bill. You may they may pay you within 1 week, they may pay you within 1 month, they may pay you within 1 year. It depends on what is the contract between the hotel and the person who is making the booking. What is the credit term? So that's called credit term, right? So the AR accounts are also classified in similar way how the business is structured. So there are agents which are international agents, means those agents are not in the same country as you are in the hotel. The payment is coming via overseas channels. Then there are agents which are local agents, means that the agents are situated locally. They have an office locally, they are going to pay locally as well. So they may be an international agent, for example Thomas Cook, for example the international agents of any category, they may have offices in the country as well. So if they are dealing from that country office, then they will be local agents. If they are dealing with the hotel from their corporate office or from their other offices, then they will be treated as agents international. Why this segmentation is done, we will look at it later. Then there are corporate companies, the corporate companies who are making the bookings on behalf of their guests, or their guests are staying on behalf of them. So they may be doing the booking. So they may be individual guests, they may be groups, there can be any events, because the corporates are doing many times, right? They are doing meetings, they are using the rooms, they are using the F&B, they may be buying the gift vouchers. So they may be doing a lot of transactions with the hotels. So in that case, that kind of booking is going to be considered as, just hang on, as the accounts receivable, right? So that's the classification of companies. So apart, then they can be the private limited companies or public limited companies. Then there are government and embassies. So these are normally the government offices, the embassies, the NGOs, which are normally booking the hotels for their guests, for their state of heads, or for any other business. Then there are also credit card companies, right? So these credit card companies are when the hotel is now doing a business with the Visa, Master, Diner Card, JCB, Amex. So they have their different payment terms. So some companies they pay within 1 day, some companies pay 7 days, some companies pay 30 days, some companies take longer to reimburse the amount that they have collected on the hotel's behalf. So a credit card company is again another segmentation in the hospitality ARs because of their different nature. Then there are individuals who may have a credit with the company. Maybe they are very regular guests, they are influential people, and they are using the hotels in their individual capacity or for their friends and family. They may do the individual event, birthdays or other things. Usually individuals don't get the credit, but there can be cases where the hotel allow them to check out without any payment because they are influential. Then there are not approved credit accounts. So there it happens many of the times that the bookings come through from a travel agent who does not have a credit facility with the hotel. Means they are supposed to pay at the time of departure, but either by special approval of the GM or by director of system marketing or by the salespeople or by mistake of the front office, they don't pay at the time of departure, so they are closed to the AR account as not approved credit accounts. Means we don't have the credit, but they are still need to be collected. So they are tracked separately so that we know these accounts are something which are risky because we don't have a prior approval for their credit. Sometimes the credit application is in pending and you want to collect the money and there is a guest and you accepted the booking, right? So because there is no credit approved, you cannot classify them into any categories, but so you need to put them in this particular category, not approved credit account. Now is there any question on this category, or are you having the similar categories, or you don't have these kind of categories? What is the situation? Have you seen? Do you know?
Yeah, almost a similar category, sir. Like
Mm-hmm.
not approved, we have ad hoc.
Ad hoc, yeah. So it's the same, correct.
Yeah,
Ad hoc. So you are tracking individuals separately, governments, corporate companies, agents, and international agents, right?
sir, we are categorizing it
Okay. So now, what do you
separately.
think?
Yeah.
Why they are categorized like this? Why we are segregating them? A due is a due, an account is an account. So why do we separate them?
Based on the negotiated payment terms.
Yes, that's one reason. Correct. That's correct. So the one reason is they may have a different negotiated payment terms, right? So the reason why they are segregated is one is the difference in credit terms. Yes, you're right. So agent, international agent, even though the let's say the standard payment terms for the hotel is 30 days. So even the local agents, the international agents, the corporates, they have to pay within 30 days, right? Of receiving the invoice. So mostly the credit terms works. So there are two ways how the credit terms works. So one is 30 days from the checkout. So it means that whenever the guest is checking out, the company is supposed to pay within 30 days, whether you have sent immediately the invoice or you have not sent the invoice. Then there is another contract which says 30 days from the invoice date, which means that when let's say the guest has checked out on first, the accounts finance department knows about it on, let's say, second, or maybe if there is a Saturday Sunday, then they would know about it on fourth. So they see, oh, there is a bill, but now they are not going to send the bill only for one booking, right? So they may say, okay, let's see today how many bookings are done, or they may issue the bill once in a week. So let's say they issue the bill on ninth. So in the first case, the payment due date from 30 days from the checkout will still be 30, whether we have issued the invoice on 9th or whether we have issued on the 1st. But in the second case, the payment due date is going to be on 9th of August, right? Not based on the 9th, or not based on the checkout date, but on the date of invoicing. So if you delay the date of if you delay the issuing of invoice, means you are going to get the payment at a later stage. So the difference between the checkout and the actual payment collection is going to take longer time. But in the accounting systems, the aging starts from the checkout date, not from the date of invoice. So that's a very important difference that you need to understand how the AR aging works. Most of the systems, the AR aging will start from the date of checkout, means when the amount is put into the system. Because the invoicing is not done through the system itself, they are done separately outside, or even they done from the system. The aging will still collect from the date of checkout or the date of when the amount was transferred to this particular account. So that's an important thing. Now, even if let's say the checkout date is 30 days for all agents, local agents and corporates, international agents, because they are overseas, there is usually a delay between the transfer of the money from their end to the company, and they may have a specific payment cycle. Plus, there are usually currency differences. There are usually higher bank charges. So we segregate the agents international into separate way. Agents local, because they need physical invoice, they may need the tax invoices, they may need the tax receipts before they release the payment. That's why we track them separately. And the method of collection is again different. You may have to go to the travel agent to go and collect the payment in cash or by check, or even by bank transfer. You may have to give them the physical invoice for their tax credits. Corporates work in a similar way. Corporates usually have a specific payment cycle, so they may say, okay, we're gonna pay you only twice a month. So in that case, if your invoice, which is if your due date is falling within before that payment cycle, you will get paid on that day. Otherwise, it will fall longer. Plus, the credit facility of the corporates have higher stability compared to agents. Agents are easy to run. Corporates are not that easy, because they comparing with the overall outstanding towards the hotel is very small compared to their overall business. While the agents are similar, their main just their main business is only the hotel. So if hotel business is down, the agents will not be able to pay, but corporates can still pay because they may not get affected that bad, right? So that's why the ability to pay from corporate is different. Government and embassies, they normally don't follow the 30 day. Even though they may agree for 30 days, they may not pay you in 30 days. They may pay you later when they are able to get approved from their public fund than their ministers, or because the government has a longer processing cycle compared to the agents and corporates. Credit card companies are negotiated differently, as you rightly said. The even the visa is have different payment terms for different commissions expenses. So for one day they may charge a higher amount, let's say 2.5%. For 7 days they may reduce the commission to 2%. For 30 days they may reduce the commission even to 1.75%. So it depends on the hotel what payment terms they are choosing. They can switch from one day to 7 days to 2 weeks to 30 days and adjust their commission expenses. But it really depends on the what is the payment term. So managing them separately in different accounts is helps to understand what is the payment collection possibility, how much money we think we will be able to collect in certain dates. Individuals are different. Individuals are because they may not have a specific payment capability. 30 days or longer, we normally don't allow them longer periods, but they may also not follow the standard terms. Then the non-approved credit is definitely is a different thing, because we have not approved the credit or ad hoc. So they may be due only for up to maximum 30 days to 60 days, and within that period you should be able to finish that. To provide a laser focus on the operations, it's important for the business to have a separate. Just hang on, give me a sec. Sorry, my kids were making some noise outside. I don't know you hear that or not.
No, no, it's fine, sir. No problem.
Okay. Yeah, so now any question on this?
One
All clear, sir.
question, but I'm not sure. Should I wait or should I ask now? Because maybe you will touch it later. So that's why I'll just wait for it.
Okay. Then there are different risks associated with the collections. Now, the collection in different risk. So, what is the meaning of risk in associated collections? So agents which are internationally located, you don't have the physical ability to go and visit their office, right? You are not able, you can only follow them up by email or by phone. You don't really have a possibility to go over their office and ask for the payment. So it's harder to collect than compared to the local agents, which you know that you can go and see their office. Are they still working? Are they still in the business or not? So it's a different risk associated with the international agents, and there are many agents who go bankrupt, and you know only from the newspaper, because by the time you are able to collect the money, they go bankrupt. So in many times the money lost is from the international agents. Local agents now, specifically in the current pandemic times, if you have outstanding from either of the agents, the collection is quite dicey unless you really go and see their office and able to collect the money. Corporates are lower risk in the payment collections, because the outstanding amount compared to their total business is very small, and they are less likely to default in contracts. Government and embassies, they may not default in the collection, in the payments, but they may take a longer time. Credit card companies hardly default, but there can be chargebacks, there can be any other mistakes that we have to be aware. That's why we split them separately. Individuals are risky, and ad hocs are very risky. So that's why we also segregate them, not because of the payment terms, but because of the risk associated in the collection from the different agents. And then we also want to assign, if you see this structure is pretty much similar to what how the sales is also structured, right? So if you take a typical hotel sales organization chart, you will see that there are usually different sales manager who are dealing with the agents, who are dealing with the corporate businesses, who are dealing with the government business. Even in the agents, they may have by certain agents, certain managers who are taking care of international agents and local agents. So this way you can pinpoint the responsibilities of this amount is responsible from this person, this amount is responsible for this person, or from corporate team or from government team. So this way it's easier, and not approved credit accounts usually is the responsibility of who? Front office, right? Most of the time, right? So if by segregating this, we are also able to, when you are doing a review with of your accounts with the credit team, with the sales team, you can obviously overall basis pinpoint where you need to focus, whether you need to focus more on international agent team, or in the local agent team, or the corporate team and government embassies. So that's the overall reason of why these accounts are segregated into different categories, so that we can understand our AR accounts better. Now, how do we analyze these AR accounts? So there are many ways of analyzing these accounts. Before we go into the processes, I just want to give you the overall understanding of AR accounts, the segregation and the type of account, and how do we analyze them. So how we analyze them by aging, right? How old are they dues? So we want, normally we put the buckets. How many amounts are outstanding with in 30 days, in the last 30 days? How many amounts are outstanding between in the last 60 days, in last 90 days, in last 120 days, or 180 days, and beyond? So you don't really want to go beyond 180 days and divide into 30 days category, because 180 days older is already quite doubtful that you will may not be able to even collect that amount. So you put everything 180 days and above in one category, and less than 180 days usually you split them into 120, 90, 60, and 30. So you will be able to understand how old are our dues. Usually the hotels are not worried about within 30 days, or even within 60 days is not a big concern, because of the time it takes. As I explained earlier, the outstandings are calculated mostly from the date of invoice, which is at most of the organizations, is only 1 day after the checkout if the AR team is working efficiently, not from the date of invoice when you are issuing the invoice. So when you send the invoice, and there are usually the 30-day credit, so the company may pay you 30 days later. Plus, there may be some processing delays between the collection and the postings. So it can take, you can safely say that 30 days translate into 40 to 45 days. So up to 60 days, the hotels on the AR and the credit manager or general manager or financial controllers are not really worried, but they start to get worried if the amount is not paid within 60 days, because then it's clearly not within the due dates, right? So you want to understand why they are not being paid. Is it because of the payment? Is it because of any dispute? Is it because of the company is in bad condition? Or how often we are following up with the company, right? So that's the one way of analysis. Then you obviously compare these accounts with the approved credit amount. So you're gonna spend normally when you look at the AR aging, in the one column is the name of the company, another column is the total credit that we allowed or we approved from to the company, and then you will see the total outstanding. So you will obviously see that if the company is still within their credit limits that we agreed or not. How we set up the credit limits and how do we define that we will learn next week. But for this time, we will assume that the credit limits are there for a purpose, right? So because the company don't want to take more than risk more than that credit amount. So the every month or every week we are normally reviewing whether whether the agent or the company or the government has exceeded their credit limits or not. If yes, then you normally have to ask them for a prepayment or a deposit, or you put them on a cash basis. Then you definitely want to look at the top accounts. So not every account is worth spending time. If it's only due only $100 or $50, you don't really want to spend that much of time on this rather than focusing on the top account. So you normally segregate how many accounts are constituting, let's say 80% of your total accounts receivable. So there may be 5 accounts, 10 accounts. Mostly the hotels have few top accounts in agents, few top accounts in corporates, and some governments. Obviously, credit card companies are there. So these accounts, again, we prioritize which accounts we need to focus every week, and then the rest of the accounts, it's not mean that we don't focus on them. We focus on them, but we focus them only on a monthly basis rather than on a weekly basis. So the top accounts are identified and monitored, whether we are able to collect in time or whether we are able to send the invoices on time, on all those kind of things we want to understand in deeper details. Then you have new accounts. Sorry, it's not now accounts, it's new accounts. My typo error here. So the new accounts would means that they may be added just only in the last 1 month or 2 months. And why we want to monitor them is because they are new accounts. They may be delay in payments, right? Or they may be not giving the business as they were supposed to do. So new accounts are particularly risky because we have no history of working with them. So the accounts are monitored in a very strict way so that they don't exceed the credit limits. If the older accounts are exceeding the credit limits, usually you are comfortable and say, okay, never mind, this account can exceed because they normally pay. So either you take a temporary approval for the exceeding credit limits or whatever we do in the credit management we will learn next week. But the new accounts, we don't really take those kind of initiatives because that's very risky. And then accounts with no current business. So we normally look at how old are the outstanding. Let's say there is an account which is outstanding for more than 90 days and there is no current outstanding. So what that suggests, that suggests that there is no business with them at the moment, but they still haven't paid the old amount. So then means it will raise a suspicion that the company either is not in the business or does not have an intention to pay, and that's why they are stopping the business. Now there are two ways to look at it. One is either you say, okay, never mind, we are not going to do the business with them, and we cut off the way. Or the other way is you talk to them and say, okay, if you are not if you have any dispute on the prior transactions, at least do the current transactions, right? So we manage in a tactical way to continue the not to lose the business, but also not to lose additional money. And then there are constant defaulters. So constant defaulters means those who are always paying late. So it doesn't mean that they don't pay, they just pay late. So they may be paying instead of 30 days, they may be paying 60 days or 90 days always. So these accounts are also under watch, that we should not allow them to have an extra credit. So that's the job of the AR person, to ensure that the total amount, if the outstanding is exceeding their credit limits, we are obviously telling the credit managers or financial controllers that these companies are defaulting and their amounts is exceeding the credit limit. So that's about the classification, why we segregate and how do we analyze the AR accounts. Now you can ask if you have a question, if that question is not answered yet.
Yes, a question was actually more operational. So, for example, if there is a account in AR for corporates and they are staying with us, and what's happening is we have a PO for this client, and the PO is for a certain defined date range, and they have extended unduly without proper lead time or notice, which is not falling under the PO. So now, what do we do with the treatment of those nights in excess of the PO? So they go in non-approved credit account?
Technically, no, because they are not. I mean, if they are no, technically no. It's operationally they will not be non-approved credit, because this company has a credit, right, as a standing credit. But their credit limit. So it depends on two factors. One is, do they have a standing credit? Let's say they are having a credit of 100,000, right? So even though they may issue a specific PO for every booking, but their overall amount is still outstanding as 100,000 as overall credit. So if it's fall within that overall credit, you don't have a reason to ask them treat them as an ad hoc credit or unapproved credit, because we don't issue the credit based on the purchase order. Now, another scenario is that the company does not have a specific credit account, means they don't have a standing credit like 100,000. They have no credit. But based on their PO, we have given them a temporary credit up to the PO amount. In that case, if there is an excess amount or excess nights which is falling beyond the date of purchase order, then technically they will be called as unapproved credit or ad hoc credit, because we have extended the credit. But since they may have since they don't have a permanent credit account, so they will always be coming in the ad hoc account. So instead of saying non-approved, we can call them as ad hoc credit accounts. So these accounts classification, where we are saying agent international, agent local, corporates, companies, and businesses, these companies are with a permanent credit, means they have a standing credit for them. So if they don't have a standing credit and the credit is based on PO, they will be coming into the ad hoc credit accounts. So that is the AR accounts in hospitality. So what is the process of accounts receivable in the hotel? So it's a very simple process. So normally when the guest makes a booking, prior to guest making a booking, there is a process of approving the credit. So there may be so that falls under credit section, approving of credits. So we are here looking at only how we record the accounts receivable, not how they are approved with the credit, right? So there is a process of approving the credit. So we will look at that next week. But first we look at the guest, how we record the credit. So normally when the guest makes a booking, they either will make a deposit if they don't have a credit with the company. Then the money that we receive will go into the deposit ledger, right? And when they check in, that amount from deposit ledger will go back to the folio in their folio, and will be offset against any room charge, and they will pay the the difference. So that's a very simple process. So the deposit ledger again is maintained by accounts receivable department, and then credit to folio at the time of check-in. Or they may also have an option to pay cash or via bank transfer on departure, right? So they may not pay deposit early, but they will just say, okay, we will pay at the time of departure. So usually the front office has a process to ask for deposit or incidental charges, and they will collect the money in advance. Or even if the company hotel is not following that practice, they may leave as the person to check in at that point of time without asking for deposit. And at the time of checkout, they will just ask money, and that will be settled down. So then it's no AR, just only the recording of income at the time of departure. So it's easier. There's another option that the guest can pay via credit card. So the credit, if you say by technically the payment has been done, there should be no AR. But the credit card money is not going to come into the hotel account immediately. It will take 1 day, 7 days, 30 days, depending on the type of credit card and depending on the terms of credit from the credit card company. So it will go into the AR account in our credit card companies section, and then we will collect the payment after the so normally you don't have to go and collect the payment. The credit card companies are depositing the money immediately on the due dates. You just have to reconcile that this money, this amount, this invoice has been paid. Then you have a credit on departure. So there can be a credit on departure, means that there has to be a corporate so the first thing that the AR is checking is whether this credit facility is approved by the credit department or not. I mean, that's normally the job of the credit department, to check whether any booking is which is credit on departure does have any specified credit account or not. If yes, then it's fine. If no, they will say that you need to collect the money at the time of departure. But AR also again is checking whether this company, the booking where the account are transferred, have any credit account in our AR system or not. If they have, then they will record in AR and they will send the invoice after that. So it's not that recording in AR is finished. You have to send an invoice. Whether you send from the system or you make in Excel is a different process. And how often you send the invoice is again a different process. And then after that, you will collect the payment. And then finally, you will record the payment in the system. So that's a very brief system of how accounts payable work on an overall basis. Question on this process? So there is normally a process of AR for events and F&B. So that was the room business, right? So usually the guests, if let's say they use the F&B or spa department, they normally either they will pay the cash or they will say, okay, can you charge to my room? Or they may be sponsored by a corporate company to have the dinner, and then the bill will be sent to the corporate company. So they may say, okay, this is going to be paid by the X company. So the front of the department will transfer it to a holding area in AR or to a specific account before we transfer to the particular AR account, whether it's the agent or the corporate company or the government company or whoever. And then after that, the collection, sending invoice and collection process will start. So that's also very straightforward payment. If it's a staff, then it will be deducted from the payroll. If it's from the customer, then you will send it to the customer. So normally the staff billing is also coming from the F&B, spa, sometimes room as well. If they are using the staff is using on a credit. So every hotel normally have a specific account for the staff to use the hotel facilities on credit, which for which the money is normally deducted from their payroll at the end of the month up to a certain amount. So we're gonna talk them about one by one. So the inherent risk in accounts receivable process is the number one is if the invoice is raised to the right customer. So how we are going to identify that? How do we know that the amount that we are sending is the right customer? Do you have any idea of how do we identify that?
Yeah, you can collect the documents from the reservation department. Just like travel agent, there will be a email correspondence, or like in government, government will give you official letter saying that this so much room.
So we look for the LOA, right?
LOA. Basically is going to be evidence that the AR has to check that this invoice is raised, this charge is belong to that particular customer. So means you are either going to check the voucher from the travel agent, or the PO from the corporate company, or LOA from the government, or the individual, maybe an email or a message that is saying that this money has to be charged to a particular customer, right? So there has to be a, evidence. So usually there are fake invoices, which happens many times. In my experience, that the agents, the guest comes with a voucher which does look like a voucher, look like a travel agent voucher. When in the past, when there was mostly the physical vouchers, not the e-vouchers, mostly the physical vouchers. So they come with a voucher, and then the front office overlook, and maybe if they are super busy, they may overlook the authenticity of voucher, and then they accept the booking. By the time the invoice reach to the AR with the physical invoice, the guest has already checked out, right? So because the amount will come to AR only after this is checked out. So by the time they know, oh, this invoice is, or this voucher is fake, because it doesn't match with the other vouchers of the that particular travel agent. So the first line of defense is the travel agent of the front office. When they are accepting the booking, they normally check the voucher, and normally check the select the AR account for which this is going to be charged. I have seen many times that the front office is not selecting the right account of AR. So what they do is they select the wrong account, and then when the amount is transferred after the checkout, amount is transferred into the AR accounts in finance, they go to the wrong account. So the AR clerks have to do the adjustment. Sometimes if they are not careful, they may just generate the statement of invoice and send, which is happening now, when in the past they have to match one by one with the vouchers, physical vouchers, and they have to send the physical vouchers in physical format to the agents. Then it was less chances of mistake, because you have to match it. Nowadays, because of the e-invoicing, so you just generate a statement of invoice and send it to the agents, and then after that they say, oh, this is not our booking. So then you come to aware that is what not the right customer. So that's the risk. So the first line of defense in this is the front office, who is selecting the AR account based on the voucher, based on the email, based on the LOA, based on the correspondence coming with the customer or from the reservations, right? Then the second inherent risk is that the customer, or the company for which the billing is done, they may not even have a credit limit. So the line of defense for this, usually in the hotels, is the credit department, who is constantly checking the guest in-house. So if you are aware, there is a guest in-house list which the credit department is checking on a daily basis, saying that, okay, this money is this guest, what is the billing instruction? If the billing instruction is credit, means departure, then which company is going to pay for it, and if that company has a credit or not. So that's the inherent that is the standard operating procedure for avoiding this inherent risk. But the it happens many times that the credit department skips this part, and the customer get the credit without any credit limit. Then if the amount, then another inherent risk is this: the amount is right as per the agreement. So how do you check that? Again, you match that with the standard rate contract with the agent or with the corporate company, or you look at the PO from that credit company, and then make sure that the amount is same as what was agreed upon. Now there are usually operationally, sales and marketing sales manager may give discount, or may give kickbacks on certain bookings, right? Or they may be giving certain additional benefits on the amounts. Or sometimes, let's say the guest complain, and there is usually a discount agreed between the sales and agent, which is sometimes not communicated to the finance department. So in that case, the bill that we are sending to the agent is wrong. So do you think it happens in your company as well?
Plenty of times.
Plenty of times. So usually, what is the line of defense?
Data accuracy, night audit is the big one.
Yeah. So the important thing here is that the AR is checking the invoices before they send it. So they have a copy of the contracts, which is normally in, for example, the good systems like Opera. They have the contracts mentioned in the AR systems itself. So they don't have to refer to any outside document. But the other ERPs or other PMS or other accounting softwares, they may have to go into the individual folders or individual contracts and match the companies. Sometimes there are specific promotions for which they may normally forget. So they may check with the normal rate, but not with the special contract which the sales and the agent might have entered, and that's why they may not be aware of those things, and the reservations may also not get aware. So first line of defense is the reservation department, who is creating the booking. So they have to make sure that the rate at which the booking is created is the agreed rate from the customer or from the guest, and there is a clear cashier comment in the booking that the amount which amount is going to be charged from the agent. So sometimes the guest has a on account payment, sometimes the agent agree to provide them a dinner, sometimes agent may give them a lunch or a spa. So in that case, the cashier comment has to be very clear. Then the next line of defense in this is the front office, who is going to match the rate with the correspondence which is coming from the reservation department or the vouchers or the email, to make sure that the rate is correct. And the third line of defense is the AR themselves, uh, who may be aware of certain promotional rates from the corporates or the from issue rates, special rates issued by the sales and marketing. They may get understanding during that particular period, so they may need to recheck again with the invoices. So that's the line of defense. So these are inherent risks, means these risks are there, and we are talking about the standard controls. Even despite the standard controls, the mistakes happen, so that's a different thing, right? So the next inherent risk is that invoice may not be sent in time. So what does that mean? What does that mean basically is that if, let's say, so for that, AR need to understand what is the contract. So if the contract is, let's say, a specific date from the checkout, then they don't need to worry about when they send the invoice. They just need to make sure that they are sending the information well in advance to the agent or to the company. But if the contract is 30 days from the date of invoice, then they have to make sure that they send invoice immediately after the checkout. The next day, the invoice is they need to issue the invoice. But sometimes what happens is the AR is not issuing every invoice every day. So what they do is they accumulate the invoices, they make a one summary of the invoice, and they issue on a weekly basis. Sometimes the agent is asking them to issue on a weekly basis, because they may not want to get email every day if they are bookings, everyday bookings, right? So that happens. So what is do you know what is the process in your hotels, how you are sending the invoices? Daily, weekly, monthly?
So we are sending like on daily basis. Whenever there is a city ledger bill, we are sending on that the same day itself.
Same day itself.
Yeah.
So in physically or by email?
By email.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because our bookings are like 80% advance, so we don't have that much city ledger.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. But for a city hotel, a business hotel, it may not be the case where you are getting most of the advanced bookings. They may be getting most of the credit bookings, right? Even for the groups. So usually the AR department has to be on top of these credits, these city ledgers, that the invoice is sent immediately every day. Every single day you have to generate the invoice, and normally the invoices are generated from the system. So it creates a burden on, it creates hard work for the AR team to issue the invoices on time. So a proper manning is important. Otherwise, they may not be able to cope with the job. Then the next risk we have is whether the payment is collected in time. So after the invoice is sent in time, whether the payment is collected in time. So usually the companies have payment cycles. Let's say 30. Let's say they are paying only on every 20th. So if the invoice is not generated before 20th, or the due date is not falling before 20th, they are not going to pay that. If they say the due date is falling on 21st, they are not going to pay on the 20th cycle. They will pay next 20. So it means the credit which was supposed to be 30 days is now already 30 plus 29, 59 days already, right? So that usually happens. And if that in the next payment cycle also they miss somehow because of any clarification needed or anything needed, then it's again a risk. So usually the companies process the invoices only when they approve the invoice, right? So if, let's say, there is a confusion or there is a dispute between on the invoice, they may not put that for payment. So that will even create more delays in the system. So if you are combining the invoices, then it means the whole entire invoice may stop. So that's why it's important to issue the invoice on a daily basis and separate invoices, so that you can at least those who does not have any dispute can be cleared immediately. So that's the payment collection. And then the reminders, right? And the reminders are important. And then the another inherent risk is payment collected are reported to the company or not. So in the hotels where a lot of cash collection happens, this risk is very, very high, because high cash transactions lead to high chances of fraud. So I have a case story that to tell you in the future, that I will tell you in the future, in tomorrow, that there have I have seen myself some a lot of cases where the payments collected even in the bank are not reported to the company. They are withdrawn from the bank. So we'll see that. And then the next risk is, if you even if you payment if you even if you collect the payment in time, even if the payment has been reported to the company, it may not be applied to the right customer. So why is that a risk? Can you think of any risk with that, if payment collected is not applied to the right account or right customer, right account?
First of all, the aging will not show accurate. Secondly, there is a higher possibility of misconduct.
Yeah. So the first thing is aging will not show correct. The correct account will not be shown as outstanding, right? The second thing is there is a chance that you may collect a payment from one person and does not report that, but because they may get overdue, you are applying to that overdue account. Or even if you are not doing a fraud, but unless it's one account is getting overdue, to give them a favor or to save your save your life from getting questioned that why this amount is not collected in time, you may apply that amount to the oldest outstandings, so that the AR aging seem like very good, right? It's very latest only. So that's one thing that happens. So apart from being right account, is also the right invoice. So that's again another risk which I think I have not noted here, that the payment collection may be applied to the right account but may not be the right invoice. So many of the time I have seen the AR staff is applying the payment on first in first out method. Means whatever amount is collected, they will just go and adjust the oldest outstanding, so that the AR outstanding is always shown the latest invoices, latest up to the, let's say, 60 days or 90 days. So you will never see the old invoices outstanding. So if you are going to follow them up with the latest invoice, they will say I have already paid it, and these are the confirmations. And you will check that amount in your account and say, oh, this amount is actually adjusted to another invoice by mistake or by knowingly. So that kind of misconduct is also happening. Then the another risk in AR usually is the adjustment in accounts. So AR stuff can, if they say there is a short payment of $100 or $50 or $10 or $20, they may go and adjust that as a bank charge, even though they may not be a bank charge. And if it's a small amount, the company may not even monitor it. So and it's not authorized. So there are usually adjustments in AR accounts which can go unauthorized. So there's usually a process by which any adjustment to the AR accounts are authorized by the authorized person. So it can be the credit manager, it can be the assistant controller, or can be the financial controller, or can be the chief accountant in that case. So for you, just need to understand that there are inherent risks in AR process.